Okay. And we've kind of already covered this about they're mostly listening to themselves and their own perspective, but not necessarily listening to what you're trying to tell them, even though you've got the best product that's going to solve the problem. So they're not connecting the dots. By asking good questions, it gets them to connect the dots. So I will deal with this, and I'll get to your question in a minute about what questions you ask them, Franklin. In this part here, what happens is you've got their cycle of interpretation over here. So that's them, and they're running their version. All salespeople are pushy, right? Or whatever it is, or the price is too high, or you're just going to try and sell to me, or I just want this. You know, the classic one is, I just want this. Don't try and give me all the other stuff. I just want this. But Michael, you were able to bridge that and get past that into service. But see, if you actually believe their argument, right? So they've got a cycle of interpretation, and you've got a cycle of interpretation. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. So if you actually believe their cycle of interpretation, so they've got one in their head and you've got one in your head, and both of those are kind of interacting with each other, right?
Yep.
Then what's going to happen? No sale.
Because everybody has their own perception.
Yes, exactly.
So the way is to break this cycle, and what's the best way how to break this cycle?
Exactly, that's the right question. So the way to break the cycle is not to engage with it in the first place, right? So rather than have your cycle of interpretation interact with their cycle of interpretation, you actually have to get free of your one altogether. Right, so you have to break your own, because then when they go to interact with your cycle of interpretation, it won't work because there's nothing to engage with.
No.
Yeah. So you have to, in a funny way, clear your own perspective. So ask yourself the question: am I a pushy salesperson? So, because if you've got, I'm a pushy salesperson, above, I'm trying to deliver value. Well, how's that going to go? I'm a pushy salesperson's going to win every time. So the paradigm's faulty, right? But if you've got, I'm trying to deliver, or I am committed to delivering value, even though sometimes, you know, the customer's not right, but they think they are, and despite the customer's self-defeating behavior, I'm still going to give them value. And me being a pushy salesperson, like, yeah, you might think I'm pushy, but I'm just committed to what I'm committed to, and it's actually not my responsibility.
If I approach to a customer, okay, and the customer really has a preconception about the product of the company, it's very close, said, mate, you are wasting your time, your product is bad, I don't like it. How would you deal with this? Personally, absolutely.
So you're just really not interested, you're not in the market. Well, why did you make an inquiry? That's weird.
Well, this is the case if I approach. I mean,
I know. I'm being a little bit facetious. So,
what about if I approach to the customer? He hasn't made any inquiries.
You've approached the customer and it's a flat no. Don't worry about it. Move on. You approach a procurement manager or the operations manager or what maintenance manager. And they're like, oh yeah, actually, yeah. No, we've got some cracks in the flooring over here and over here. Okay, let's. What can you do about it? Then you're past the initial prospecting stage. So you got prospecting, which is, and then you've got a potential, like where you're trying to gain interest, and then you've got actual selling where you know there is an opportunity, right? So you've got to get. So let's say there is potential interest. You move past prospecting into potential, and then you're going from potential into selling. You can't, and that potential is really a marketing mode of operation. So let's just dismiss everybody that's just a straight no, right? They're not a prospect. Well, now we're into potential. Okay, so if they're putting up resistance at that point, talk to the hand, sorry, no. Well, then you're probably not asking the right questions to get them to really start to think about it and consider it. So what questions do you ask? Well, you start to ask, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What would you like? How would you like it to be if it were different? What are you actually trying to get to? And don't use coachy language. Use practical language, but you're still trying to trip them into hypothetical thinking, like how would it be if this were fixed, or or don't not how would it be, but would you like this fixed? Then what's the time frame around it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go back to the value. The value pyramid, what we do is we say uniqueness, capability, needs, time, right? So what I do is I start asking some questions from the value pyramid. I start asking, oh yeah, okay, so have you had that resurfaced in the last few years? That's a need question. It's going for the need. Oh, okay. Who looks after it? That's a capability question, or it's also a uniqueness question. And what sort of time frame before you need to do something about it is a time question. And you start, so I ask questions around value or potential value, and that'll pique their interest.
Sorry, can you give me another example about the unique question?
So who looks after your flooring? Or who looks after your printer? So you're starting to go down the track of, well, if they look after your printer, they're not doing a very good job, and we do this, this, and this.
Okay, so this would be a uniqueness question. Who look after?
Sorry?
For uniqueness.
Yeah. So the question is, so who looks after your flooring? How do you look after it now?
Yeah.
So you're trying to understand who's the incumbent, the service provider already.
Yeah. Who is the person? Yeah. What about capability? Question capability. How much do you need? Say how much?
So capability is it's actually difficult. It seems simple. Capabilities like I'm an electrician, so I can fix your switchboard, right? So every electrician should have a ticket, and they should be able to fix the switchboard. So, or every flooring resurfacing company can do what they say they can do. So yes, you've got the minimum requirement. You can actually fix a switchboard or resurface a flooring or provide a printer, right? So it's almost like a credibility thing.
Yeah.
You've got to have it. If you don't have it, you're not in the game. Mm-hmm. Especially important. Sorry.
What type of finishing do you need? Would be a need question. What type of finishing?
Well, that's a good. Yeah, it's good. That's actually both. It's actually connecting relevance to uniqueness and need are getting connected when you say that, because you're bringing up relevance. So how is what we do relevant to your need? Right, so how is our uniqueness? Because when you say what type of flooring, boom, all of a sudden you've knocked out half the competition, because the company the existing provider can't provide 5 products that you can provide. Mm-hmm. Right? And so then they say, well, I don't know what the answer is, but let's say you say, well, what kind of flooring what was the question again?
What type of finishing, for example?
What kind of finishing would you like? And let's just say we think we want number 2, but actually we want number 5. And you say, oh, well, actually, if you had number 5, that would solve the problem altogether for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Or can be more specific. For example, what type of finishing are you require by the industry? I'm talking about the food industry. I know they need certain type of finish.
Yeah.
It could be more specific about the need question.
Yes, it's halfway through. It's like a bridge between I need some flooring and I really would like this explicit solution, right? So you're bridging, and when they start to answer that question, what will happen? What you can do is you can have it so it likely comes up that the competition can do 1, 2, and 3, but they can't do 4 and 5, and you've got number 5, and 5's the best solution for them, and all of a sudden you've knocked everybody else out.
Yeah. So it's a good opportunity there for a need question, trying to highlight my unique proposition as well.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's nailed it. That's it in a nutshell. You do that, and your value scales tip in favour of you. And price becomes not as relevant anymore.
Right. And there pass a value proposition.
Not as high a consideration, yeah. Cool. Michael, what are you getting out of this? Oopsie, I just muted you again. Sorry, mate. What are you getting out of this, Michael?
Creating value is more important than any other things.
Right. So you're really understanding it, you're really getting your head around it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fantastic. So this is why it's so important, because if you can get more yeses with the same amount of activity, life becomes a bit easier.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So when you were asking those questions, Franklin, and Michael, do you remember this? Did you ever watch? Two's Company? I think it was. Three's Company was a program years and years ago. Anyway, so basically, by them telling you, sharing with you what's going on for them, and sharing their experience with you, they recognise your ability to solve the problem. The penny drops, and they start to see you as the default go-to person. Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense? That makes sense to you, Michael? Okay. And this is going to get to the questions you were just asking, Franklin, about, or how do we get, what kind of questions do we ask? And so the first one is, where would you like to go? So where are you now, which is the bottom, where Stickman is right now. And I'll just do this on the board. So we're trying to create value in the eyes of the customer. So notice it's all about, a lot of it's about the future. There's a little bits about the past. The past is about establishing credibility, but the future is about figuring out what they need and giving it to them, right? So they're here, and the first step is to get where they are now. What is your current situation? 1. The second step is to get where would you like to go, right? So what would you like the future situation to look like, right? So future. 2. These are the questions you ask, and we can drill into it a little bit more. I can even give you scripts and sample questions, but background. This is establishing background. So, okay, what kind of printer have you been using? Michael, you've probably got a lot of questions around numbers of print runs and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's establishing backgrounds. And the better the more funny thing is, the more questions you ask, the better, more understanding you get. And you'll be just one little question, and you'll discover that they're doing too many pages in color, and it's hugely expensive. And then you've got a real potential win, potential solution that's gonna get them to switch. So lots of background questions. Future, how would you like it to be? So, and I'm not quite sure how you would ask that question, but Franklin, what are you trying to accomplish? That's a fair question. It's not too woolly. So, what are you trying to accomplish? I like to use ideal scenario. So, ideally, how would that look to you? Ideally. So these are the questions, Franklin. So ideally, it would be blah, blah, blah. It would. And the reason why it's very important to use the word ideally, okay? And the reason why it's important to use ideally, or how would you like it to look in an ideal scenario, is because it trips people into hypothetical thinking. So it gets them out of literal and it gets them into future hypothetical.
The word ideally.
Yeah, the word ideally. So ideally, how would that look for you?
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so can people...
You got it. That's one word that'll get you out of background questions and into where you want to go, is ideally.
Ideally, yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Is that fair?
Ideally, you like, or ideally the finishing,
Yeah. And then you're starting to make suggestions and you're interacting with the future.
Yep.
And that's going to pull them into the conversation and get them to lean forward and to be engaged in what you're saying. Okay, Michael, can you give me an example of a future-based question you might use? I'll unmute you. Oh, it's not unmuting. Oh, there we go. Yep. Yeah. So what's a future-based question you might use?
Sorry, a bit noisy here.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right.
So let's say the printer's jamming and it's costing a lot, but they're not quite sure. It's jamming and it's costing a lot, but they're not quite sure why it's costing so much. And it's something to do with color, right? So I'll give you the background. It's jams quite a bit, and it's something to do with color. We're not quite sure if we're on the right pricing structure. It seems to be costing a lot.
Not really, actually. Okay. So, for example, quite a lot of people they don't know how to lose the money from the machine, because something like they do contract with other competitors, with printer guys like Xerox or Canon or something, any other.
Yeah.
They put the machine, and then they do contract with them, and then how much volume they do printing per month, and then every day they pay.
Yes, in a managed print scenario.
Yeah. They pay without noticing, because there are more extra cost on it.
So what's the question you would ask to get them to see that and consider something different?
Yeah, I can see that.
What's the question? Try and ask me the question.
Yeah, they didn't notice how much how lose the money with that.
Yeah. so they don't notice the cost, right?
Don't notice cost, exact cost. Yes.
Yeah, hidden or exact cost, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to explain them how you can manage the money.
But they can't hear it because you're trying to explain it to them, and they're still stuck in, well, we've got this, we're not sure about something. So what's the question you have to ask at that point?
I'm trying to help.
Yep. So you've got to ask a question to them. You got to get from here to here. What's the question? Starts with ideally.
Yes.
Okay, I'll throw you a bone here. Why don't you? Okay, now you got a question. All right. So ask me the question. Ideally, how would you like it to be? Or ideally, would you like to know the costs?
Would you like the cost? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So you ask me, Michael. Ideally, start with ideally.
Yeah. Would you like to know
the cost, or what do you think is going to get me to think about it? Ideally.
Sorry, I didn't get.
So you got to get me to stop thinking about the problem that I'm stuck in, and I've got to get over to here. I've got to get to the future that I want. So what's the question?
Yeah, it's just a time scenario. Like,
okay, I'll just pause there for a second. Franklin, do you have an idea of the question?
Yes, would be ideally, how much would you like the cost
to be?
Yeah, to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about, or ideally, because you said, the procurement manager said, the cost seems too high. I'm not very happy with the price or the cost structure.
Yeah.
In this case, I would ask, ideally, where would you like the cost to be? So in this way, I can know.
Perfect. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. So this is a really interesting thing. Everybody's worried about getting it wrong. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. The point is you got them to cross the bridge. And it doesn't matter if they say, well, I'm not sure about that. Well, okay. And then give you a second chance to start to explain some stuff. But when you're back here, you can't explain anything. And they can't hear it.
Yes. You can uncover, and see which is the real problem, what is stopping
exactly
the cycle. And say, okay, because it's too costly. If I have an alternative product, I can offer a cheaper one, a cheaper version of the product.
Yep.
If the product costs, all right, the less costly, or just sell the product, not the rest. Then after you can, offer separated the service. At the end of the day, it's gonna be the same thing, but you can break it down. I don't know. I would use.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you can work backwards, but if so you've got to get over here in the first place, and then you can work backwards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, good. We've got the cogs turning. So now, Michael, have another go. What's the question you're going to ask me to get me? I'm stuck in here, right? What's the question you're going to ask me?
Yeah, I got many thoughts. Anyway,
okay, that's good.
Customers, they didn't know how much they lose money every month. Of course.
Yeah.
I have noticed many sales guy like us, like me, they didn't tell extra cost.
Sure.
They didn't tell to customer extra cost. Just normal renting cost, and then how much volume you pay for this, and then package deal. But they didn't tell extra cost like moving area from here to here going to be extra cost $200 something.
Yeah.
Or reinstall a setup, and then a network connecting installation fee. How much? They don't tell. I don't know why, but
Okay.
I'm trying to explain and then clarify everything like that, and then when they listen like that, they might be happy.
Exactly. All right. Sounds like you've got more of a sense of it. Maybe watch this video again afterwards as well. It's really good to get your head around this and really understand it and start to use it practically in real everyday situations. So shifting the prospect's perspective from where they are to where they'd like to go, and then starting to solve the problem, has a bigger impact than just blinding them with science, right? So blinding them with science, what I mean by that is, so Franklin, you will have lots of knowledge around flooring and concrete compositions, right? You could tell me everything there is to know about how hard concrete can be and how soft it can be and mixing plastic in it and blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. And Michael, you could tell me every feature and benefit that there is under the sun for every different kind of printer on the market. Fair enough?
Yeah.
But none of that's going to get me to buy a printer or get me to use you as my provider. Okay, and that usually lands with a dull thud. Like, I know a lot about how to make businesses grow, but none of that's going to get me a new client. The only thing that's going to get me a new client is caring about what they need, because they want to get from here to here. So if I blind them with science, give them all the evidence under the sun about why they should do this, why they should do that, I'm actually getting into convincing, and it's not a productive conversation to give them value. Funnily enough, it works against you. It's counterproductive. Okay, so building needs is not about building needs. The process establishes credibility as well as capability and uniqueness relevant to their needs. Fair enough? You understand that? Okay, cool. So the questioning process itself gets the cogs turning and gets them thinking about you as the go-to person or the potential provider. So it's about thinking process, not event. So people think sales is an event that happens. Like, I went in and I made the sale. Ding, ring the bell. Woohoo! Not quite like that. Sort of like that. And you should ring the bell. I'm just saying that you think process, not event. So if you think process, then you think, well, where's that customer up to? And what do they need now? Why are they stuck? Oh, there's something I haven't given them. What is it that I'm not doing, not giving them, because I've got a blind spot that if I were to give it to them, it would unlock the process. Okay, what do you guys think of that?
I agree with that.
Sorry?
I agree with that.
Yeah, good. What about you, Franklin?
Yes. Well, the idea is to start a process.
So look at yourself first, right? And the more the reason I love sales so much, like, I do love selling. I really love working with business owners and business, and selling is a part of delivering value for businesses. The reason I love selling so much is because it's a mental game with myself, right? It's not about, it's sort of about the customer, but if the customer's all locked up, it's actually my job. And the fundamental underlying principle here is that everyone's looking for value. Everyone's trying to get to where they want to go, all right?
Yep.
And if you think about it like that, then all there is to do is figure out what's stopping people getting to what they want. And if you help enough people get what they want, then you'll get what you want. That's the way I look at it. So if they're looking for value, then what there is to do is to reflect and go, okay, so I didn't give them this or I didn't give them that, and that's held up the process. And if I do give them this, then maybe that'll unlock the situation and they'll stop fending off my calls, and they'll be interested in moving forward. Okay, so just something to think about. So we've talked about this capability uniqueness. You provide the solution in time, understand their needs. Yeah, and we talked about this as well. So I'm probably going to wrap up there, guys, because we're at an hour already. 5 points of contact in the sales process builds engagement.
Yeah.
So you were thinking process right at the start, Franklin. You've already talked about the process from here to here. All the research clearly demonstrates that from a cold start to a close, you need 5 steps in a process. It's actually 4.6. So you want to err to 5, right? Now, Absolute Resurfacing's got some really good marketing, so that's great. And so when a prospect comes into the pipeline, they're probably already at number 2 because they've seen some marketing. So the marketing's covered step 1. And same with Cardi. Cardi's got some good material. So the prospects are going to be coming in at number 2. If they're inbound, if they're outbound and they don't know you, then they're coming in cold at number 1. Okay, so what there is to do is to maybe send some emails with the logo, come and visit link to visit our site. In between the first visit and the second visit, if you're prospecting, then build in some touch points in the middle so you can increase the level of engagement and escalate the client's experience as they move through your sales process. Cool. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, yes, definitely. It is a process since start the sale, from a cold call, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
What you mentioned, marketing, basically easily pass the first stage. So we are already in the second stage.
Yeah.
Basically, approach to the customer, trying to understand their needs, have, a conversation, maybe deal with some, some few no's and understand why no, and trying to, show the product the unique value that we can provide. Up to this, closing the sales. Yeah, definitely. It is a process.
Yeah. So quite often at number 4 is when you're delivering the quote and they fall off a cliff, number 5. But what there is to do there is to actually make sure you've committed them or booked you might even deliver your quote in a 2-stage process, right? So you might say, okay, look, I'll give you the price or whatever. I'm happy to do that, because you don't want people just hanging around for the price. You want them actually to be engaging in the value. So I'll come back and yes, we'll give you the pricing, but don't be defensive about the pricing. Just so we'll go through the solution and how that could work for you, and we'll be covering off the pricing in that meeting as well. We might even come back for another meeting just to see, let you think about it for a few days, or bring anybody else in that you need to talk with. Try and do a 2-stage delivery, because often you won't get it when you deliver the price. They have to think about it, and there's some other hoops they've got to jump through in order for you to get the sale, right? So you want to try and position a 2-stage delivery if possible. We'll say, look, this is how I go through the pricing, and then we set up another meeting to do X, Y, Z. Measure, I don't know what it could be for you, but it's something to think about. I almost always do this for myself. Okay. So what it would be quite good to do after this meeting is actually map out your sales process. And I'd quite like to sit down with each of you and work through your sales process with you. And once you've had some practical on the ground, playing with it, and then we'll write it down. So you've just got a framework to refer back to. Okay, and now significant points of contact are all these on the left. On the right, touch points are, actually, I probably won't go through this, but there's a difference between significant point of contact and a touch point. And each step in the sales process leads to the next. And the point is not to have lots of hoops to jump through. The point is that each step in the sales process lifts engagement. So if you haven't got a sale, quite often the customer's not above a high enough level of engagement in terms of building trust, like a trust threshold. Keen to get, what's your takeaway? Michael, what's your takeaway for today? What's the biggest thing you've gotten out of this morning?
Yes, very important to make steps, like many engagement. Yeah, with strategy, because otherwise, actually, I lost customer quite a lot so far, just because most people, they just chasing price, as you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And when I met them, I'm not trying to push them, but they always ask first price.
Yes.
Yeah. then suddenly I just promised to them, okay, I can give you the best price. You don't worry about that. Then next meeting, when they ask the price, then I can't.
You can't get out of that. You're stuck in the price conversation now.
Exactly,
You've set the wrong expectation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I understand.
It's
a
like
classic trap. Classic trap. Very frustrating. Okay. Yeah.
Very frustrating.
Yeah,
exactly. Because to them, it's most photocopier and printers. To them, it's just same. Even if
it's a commodity. So the only way they can evaluate value is on price. But actually, what there is to evaluate it on is lots of different features and benefits.
But they don't know, and they just they don't listen.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now I understand how we can build up the value, and then we bring deliver a strategy as well.
Yeah.
So
fantastic.
So need to think more.
Okay, great. And Franklin, what do you got out of this morning?
Well, today we discuss about value proposition. Ideally to highlight the value of the product and the price. Okay. Also, we discuss about the value pyramid. The concept of the need, capability, time, and uniqueness, and how to formulate some question around those topics.
Yes.
For example, you're trying to uncover, which is the time frame. When would you like to do this job? That and focusing there. In time, or can be, which type of, product would you like, maybe uniqueness, or uncover the needs, around the value pyramid. That is basically, leading the sales by doing those questions, then, being pushing. Also, what I really like is about how to take a customer from present to future, by using the keyword ideally.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very good technique. And finally, understand that sales, it is a process. It's not just a single event.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Great. You've captured it in a nutshell. Really good, guys. I think what there is to do is to write down all the things that you think are unique about your value proposition, not just the product, it's the company as well.
Yep.
Maybe some things around time, maybe some things around capability, and likely 2 or 3 typical needs. Okay, and so then I'll just give quickly, last thing I want to share is when I first figured out the value pyramid, I used to call customers, and I was a commission-only sales role, and so I'd draw the value pyramid on a piece of paper, and when I was on the phone to them, I'd literally just tick every time I got a tick next to uniqueness or time, relevance, or need. And I ran this for like 6 months, and after about 2 or 3 months, it became automatic.
All right.
And I integrated it into my subconscious, so it became unconscious competence. And I'll tell you what, it's a fantastic tool. So I'd tick, and usually I'd get 2 or 3 boxes, 2 or 3 ticks, and I'd be missing one. And then when I got a tick on the corner of the pyramid that I'd been missing, the minute I got the tick in, some customers would say, "You're just trying to sell me, aren't you?" Like their natural resistance would come up because they'd gotten engaged, because they felt the scale tip. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you because it's a fantastic technique to really integrate this into your pattern.
Pyramid is the key. Yep.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
Thank you very much.
Catch you soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Take care.
Bye.
See ya.